Welcome to everybody today to another YouTube video that I'm going to make for you guys. Today we'll be painting a seascape in oils. I normally paint acrylics, but today, I've had requests to do oils. But first, I want to say thank you to all of you who have donated to my channel and helped my channel grow. Can do it without you. I'm trying to do as much as possible to help you guys with your endeavors and to oil and acrylics. And I'd like to give a special shout out to those who have donated to my channel. James Young, thank you. Natasha Claudel, thank you. I really do appreciate everything you guys are doing by helping me with growing my channel and your donations and to contribute. So without further ado, today you're in my backyard in sunny South Florida, 90 degrees and hot as hell. So but we're gonna get this done. So I'm gonna be painting right back here on my French easel, and we're gonna be doing an 8x10 seascape. So let's get it started for you guys. So to start off, let me show you guys my palette, what I have. I have cad yellow light, cad yellow medium, cad red medium, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, burnt umber, white, and I have some liquid original, which to help speed up the drying. Even though we're in South Florida, this should help with drying times a little bit faster. This is liquid original, if you see it in the stores. Okay, this helps with the drying time. It's an alkyd, so when you need to make layers, successive layers quicker or without having to wait for the paint to dry, this will help. Also, I got my thing of Gamsol in here from Gamblin. Really nice, odorless, slow evaporation. So let's start. I'm probably gonna just start the drawing out here. Get a little bit of liquid, maybe start off with just to do a drawing. Now I will post the picture that I'm working with. Well, actually I don't have it with me. I'm just gonna go at it from memory. So let me see, I remember it was somewhere around about here. So it's going to be sand dune right here, about that. There's going to be another one somewhere here. Ocean's going to be about, well, let's bring this up a little bit higher. Okay, another sand dune right here. Water line for the beach is going to be about right up here, and all this is going to be sky, so we'll work with that. And you're going to have the grasses around like this, if I remember, something of that sort. We'll make something up as we go, and this is going to be all sky, of course. I'm going to start out with a flat. Okay, so for my sky, I'm going to make a dark sky towards the base, and it's going to be a lighter up here. So usually my go-to colors are usually ultramarine blue. You know what, let me start with some white first. A little bit of ultramarine blue. Maybe a little bit of burnt sienna. And the reason why I use burnt sienna is to tone down the blue. Okay, so I never used a pure color for a sky. Still to this day, I've done over 800 paintings. I've never used a pure color for a sky. All right, skies always have, or a little bit dull somewhat, and if you use pure color, your highlights are just not going to show when you do add highlights, if you're going to add highlights to them. So keep that in consideration. Always mute your skies a bit. All right, so I'm sure with this hot weather here, these paint colors are going to be just like dry really fast. And I'm using enough liquid. You don't want to put too much liquid, okay? Like maybe no more than 20% to paint ratio. So 20% of by volume. Oop, that was a little bit too much. Maybe a little bit more white, a little bit more blue. Yeah, it's about right. Maybe a little bit more sienna. That's fine. A little bit of liquid. Oh, maybe a little bit more blue. White. And the reason also what's nice about liquid is that it helps move the paint around. So this is going to be kind of loose. I already feel the liquid really setting in here. All right, keep going. It's going to be a very loose, impressionistic style of painting. All right, more of the mixed. If you don't have burnt sienna, you could always tone down your blue with burnt umber, same deal. Except one's a little bit more cooler in color than the other. I'd say burnt sienna was a little bit more on the cooler range than it would have been on burnt umber. And if I can't finish this here outside, most likely I'll finish it inside in the house, maybe tomorrow or what have you. All right. So I'm going to go a little bit darker on our horizon. Let me see, let's give this some kind of form. All right, let's go darker now. So now I'm going to use that same mixed color, introduce some cad red medium, about the same value, just about, not exactly, but about. Now normally I use a lot of alizarin crimson. I forgot to bring it with me. Outside I can go get it, but whatever, I'll just work with what I have. Maybe a little bit more blue, a little bit more red medium. Okay. Maybe a little bit of sienna. Tone this down, let me see. Yeah. That works. Just keep it loose and now remember some grasses are going to go up here, so I'm not going to go into that here. I'm just going to put man, I'm already like freaking roasting out here. All right. Bam, bam, bam. Now we might work over this a little bit more afterwards. Maybe I'll put some nuances here, not sure yet. But I can already feel the paint kind of like dragging. That's because of the liquid is already starting to tack up. I'm wondering if I should have just used some oil instead, some linseed oil. But we might do that on the next step. All right, for right now, I'm just going to use liquid just to block in a lot of my colors. And then we'll go in maybe with some linseed oil and just go over this a little bit more thicker paint. So your first initial layer needs to be thin, okay? Because if you do it too thick right away, you're going to run into problems if you're using especially linseed oil. The problem is that your paint will start dragging. Kind of see what's doing here, these white spots. It's going to lift the bottom layer and it's just going to start dragging, and it's just not going to be a pretty picture. Now it all depends. If you're painting thick and impasto, you know, some people want the brush marks and all that, and some people just like this, you know, smooth look. I'm kind of like in between. It depends on what, you know, looks good in the painting, so I'm not too picky. All right, I'll come back and rework over this a little bit more, maybe add a few clouds here. So right now the basic thing is just to get the ball rolling, cover the page up, the canvas. Why am I saying canvas? This is wood panel. Let me show you what I have here going on here. So this is an 8x10 birch wood. When somebody tells you panel, it's usually a flat piece of panel of wood, you know. When somebody tells you cradled, this is cradled. All right, yeah, that means it's got bracing in the back. So, which I like. So, you know, if you have a client, they're ready to hang, if they don't want to put a frame to it, or they could put it in a frame, it doesn't matter. So it's up to you. But I like the cradle birch. And sometimes I do paint on flat masonite or other birch panels. So let's continue. So now let's go with the water here. So we're gonna do, from what I remember, is a little bit of a dark blue in the back. A little bit of blue, a little bit of sienna. Maybe a little bit right here. Cad yellow. Let's make the back aspect of the water a little bit dark. All right. As we come forward, actually, sorry. Let's see if I like that color. That looks like about Florida watercolor. Our seas kind of look like that sometimes. Remember, this is just the initial stage. All right, and we'll work over that afterwards. Now maybe I should tell you that I'm establishing my sunlight coming from this angle, kind of like right here, okay? So some of this part here is going to be in shadow, and then the lighter colors and so on. So let's start. Let me find a different, well, maybe I could work with the same brush here. All right, let's work with the shadow. So the shadow is going to be kind of a gray down purple about. Put a little bit of maybe a burnt umber, I'm sorry. Maybe blue, some white. Create this, that's probably a little bit too dark, maybe white. Maybe a little bit of red, maybe a little bit of yellow. You see that? Well, I hope you can see the difference. Maybe a little bit more on the blue side. You can see the difference in colors, especially when you mute the colors a little bit. Yes, let's go ahead with that. It's going to be my shadow side. Maybe some sunlight's going to go through here and on this section. Okay, as you can see, it's grayed down, and that's fine. I want it grayed down. There's gonna be sunlight in here, so this is just to give a base color so that I'll have nice base color to work off of when I put my lighter colors on top of that. So let me see. Okay, some of the seagrass. Let's go a little bit ultramarine blue, or cad yellow, maybe some. That's a little bit too much. A little bit of white. Kind of a brownish green. I could have used red, but I have some sienna. It's a nice warm color. Put it on thin. Now I'm doing like a middle value, and when I say value to you, it means how dark or how light a color is. So I'm using a mid value, like a 5 or 6, you know. So if I want to add darks eventually to this, I could eventually, you know, add darker colors on top, or I could add highlights on top of that. I'm not making it too dark ahead of time, because sometimes it's kind of hard when the paint is wet to add like a lighter color on top without it bothering the bottom layer and muddying things up. So I just go with the mid-tone, so I could go either way without a problem. Some people just go too dark at the beginning. So, and plus this will dry quick. Yeah, let's go with that. A little bit more blue, sienna, green, maybe a little bit of white. Just mixing with some of the top sky colors. It's fine. Let's bring this down a little bit more. We're not really worried about what it looks like for now. Just see what looks good. Yep, like that. All right. Perfect. All right. There's some grass here. You don't want to make it too symmetrical. The thing is, in a painting, never make anything symmetrical, because how many things that you know in life or in nature that are just like symmetrical? If it becomes too symmetrical, you know it's man-made, or you know, just not realistic. Don't do things symmetrical. Let things blend into each other. So here is going to be another. All right, just giving myself a reference point here, like that. Also, notice how I slanted this? I did not just go straight. I slanted it because I'm going to give you the impression that there's a hill or a little dune here, because I'm going to put some shadow line maybe eventually at the end over here. So I'm just, if you're going to show like a hill or some contours, paint in the form of the contour. Don't just go flat, you know. Paint around, show that there's a contour, show that there's dips and valleys, you know. Show that in your painting. All right, that's good for now. All right, so white, maybe a little bit of cad yellow light. Let's put a little bit of warmth to this. Warm up this sand a little bit. Let's see how. Yeah, probably it doesn't show. Doesn't show on camera, but I assure you, there's color. Maybe I might even mix some of this purple here. Muddy this up a little bit. We have beaches here in South Florida that are just like unbelievably like sugar white sand. If you ever been to Florida, you know what I'm talking about. Sugar white. Ooh, man, did I mess that up? Put a thick pile of white here. Let me just go over that. It's gonna dry anyway. Doesn't matter. We'll work on that afterwards. All right, so for now, we're gonna leave that pile just like that. It's gonna dry. All right. So, finish this side here. Yeah, taking some, I'm sorry. Blend this a little bit. So always the first stage is the ugly stage and nothing looks pretty. Okay. All right, let me give a little bit of shadow line here. Some kind of indication of shadow. We'll work on that after once it's dry. Right now I'm not too concerned about detail. Okay, don't invest too much into details at the beginning. Put all your investment towards the end of the painting. When the details count, where you want your viewer's eyes to focus, that's where you put in the details. Not before that. Don't get all too nitty gritty, because then after that you're just gonna get frustrated with your painting and just like, ugh, all right, I'm done with this. Okay. All right. So now, next step. Okay, now I know all this kind of looks about the same color. Everything kind of looks light in color, but we're gonna add some dark tones and some lighter tones just to give some push, you know, go forward and push back a little bit on colors to give contrast between certain aspects of this painting. So now I'm adding some special juice here. This is linseed oil. Okay, which I mixed by myself, linseed oil and Gamsol. So basically it's 70% Gamsol, 30% linseed oil. So let's go back to the sky. So here's my little linseed oil and Gamsol. Let's go some blue, some cad red medium, now I could have started out with that medium throughout the whole painting, but I chose not to. Now it's just going to be fast work and very impressionistic. Now that I got my layout the way I want it. Maybe add a little bit more red. These are like summer skies, summer afternoon cloud systems that we have down here in Florida. See, the paint start, because if more oil has been introduced, some of the paint is starting to slip a little bit, but whatever. I'll work through that eventually. All right. And if I don't like it, when I get back in the house, I could always change a few things around. Let's introduce a little bit of orange here with this color. I feel could be beneficial. Want some muddied up. Let me make it a little bit cleaner color. Blue. Maybe just a hint of yellow. Maybe a little bit more sienna. Let me see. Sculpt the sky a little bit. Now I'm just doing this so you can see what's possible. Now, that's not to say that this is going to be the final painting the way it is right now, because, like I said earlier, I might take this in and refine this painting a little bit more. I just want to show you just like a quick, loose alla prima, because a lot of times when people paint plein air, sometimes they will go back in the studio and work out some of the details a little bit more. Okay, so right now we're going to keep it a little bit loose. Put some thicker paint here. It's almost like painting plein air here. Maybe a little more red. Ooh, that was a little bit too much. Okay, leave that like that for now. Let's work on the water. All right. Let's put a wave here somewhere. So I'm basically using like a kind of a dirty white. It's mixed with some other colors. And it's okay if some of the colors are blending. And you'll see why afterwards. So now we're going to get some under shadows here under the wave to give it more definition. I'm going to let that set up and then we're going to add a little bit more information here. Let me come closer to shore, maybe add lighter color. Because as you come to shore, of course, the water's shallow. So between the sand mixing with the turbulence of the wave, all right. All right, now let's start working on the shadow line here and maybe there, some darker and lighter areas, and then we're going to start working on the grass last. Okay, so we're going to let this be the way it is for now. All right, so, all right, shadows over here. Makes enough of a color. Too dark. Damn mosquitoes. Sorry about that. Put this in shadow because I'm going to make it show like there's a drop off. Give this contour 3D shape here. Some light coming through. Let me use a bigger brush for this. I'm going to warm a few spots. Introduce some warmer colors. Give it like a separate little hill here. All right. Let's put some nuances here. Let me put some liquid on here, dry things up even a little bit faster. Just trying to smooth things out a little bit. So give things blend into one another. Okay. Maybe give some back shadow to this dune here. Remember, sun's going this way. So, which says my light's here, dark here. Let's give this side another little dune. There are advantages to working outside and some disadvantages, especially with the light. How the light changes on your board here. Times I can gauge the light correctly, and there's times where I can't. So that's what's nice about painting in a studio. I can always gauge my color, but the one advantage about painting in nature is that you get to see the accurate colors. So let's not forget about that. Okay. All right. You're probably wondering if it's okay to use liquid while using this liquid and when I'm using this medium. They both are drying agents, so I mean there's a little bit of linseed oil mixed in. It's not going to hurt the paint. All it's going to do is just help with the drying. So all right. Now let's work a little bit on the grass here. Let's use this brush. So now there's some parts where I'm going to use darker. On this side are going to be darker because the sun's coming this way. Darker part of the grass, and there's going to be some highlights eventually that I'm going to put in here. Same with this piece. Actually, let me work on the water here a little bit more. Just to give impression of the underbelly of this wave here. Real light touches. Don't push too hard, just let your brush just glide. Just glide. So this is almost like similar to painting plein air, really. Except this part, I probably should use a lot bigger brush to cover this a little bit better. I mean, some people like the brush strokes. It really gives that sense of fresh, these fresh strokes. I'll probably go in the studio and fix this even a little bit better. So anyway, not to get off the subject, let's work on the grass here. I usually don't work plein air, and plus I'm doing this out of memory, so bear with me. So now I'm basically painting out of intuition. This is the pile that I'm using to mix. I'm using the edge of my brush here. Okay. Parallel. Flicking. Flicking motion. Going to vary these colors a little bit. I got a little bit of red. Put some of this mixture. Some of the little feeder, Some of these runner grasses. Dropping down to a liner brush. I think this is a number 4. Yep. Start adding some highlights mixed with the darks. Even if I go back to the studio and fix this painting, like right here, I'll probably go over some of this stuff. It doesn't matter. You know, there's not much invested in this painting. Just a little bit of paint, time. I had fun doing it, you know. So I can't complain. Just to be outside and be able to paint and have that freedom. Same here. Just wanted to dirty it up a little bit. Not too saturated. So I'm going to add some darks here now. So now I'm going to go burnt umber, maybe a little bit of blue. Shoot, that was a little bit too much. A little bit of yellow. Just a darker color. Go in between some of these. Lighter ones, just to create a little bit more of a visual texture. Just making a dark color. Even if it's muddy, it's okay. if the paint is sticking, just add more medium. I'm sorry, I hope you guys can see the mix here. Trying to keep a clean mix. Let's add a third one for a good odd number here.